All right, we're good. We're live. It's gonna be a fun stream today. I'm here with my buddy Josh Blackburn, and we're gonna talk about his journey using a carnivore diet, using dietary intervention as treatment for bipolar, for depression, major depression. And yeah, I'm really excited to talk about this. I know there are thousands of people out there who have used ketogenic diets, carnivorous diets as treatment for major depression and have seen massive results with it. It's not something that gets talked about so much as the weight loss, the chronic inflammatory conditions, the digestive issues that people are correcting using carnivorous diets. That gets focused on so much. And so I wanted to bring some attention to something that's really important. So many people dealing with mental health issues these days. So many people dealing with major depression, anxiety, bipolar. And Joshua is here to share with you his journey, and really, really appreciate you coming on. How's it going on? How's it going, man?
It's going great. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, it's great to talk to you. So you've told me a little bit about your story in the past. We've been going back and forth and talking a little bit about your experience, which has been fascinating. And I want to give the audience a look into your world, man. So how did this all come about? Let's start from the beginning. I guess a good place to start might be, when did you know you were depressed? When did you know you had the so-called bipolar?
So when I figured out that I had bipolar would not be till much later. I would say the depression really came on during that hormonal shift that occurs in puberty. So around 13, 14 years old, I had a major change in disposition. As a young kid, I was actually very extroverted, very happy, very talkative. And as I got older, it kind of mutated into anger and rage and isolation.
Hmm.
So
It was so common. Do you remember, was there a specific instance that happened where you actually realized what was going on?
um, I don't think I can pinpoint the exact moment that it happened. I do remember the I guess maybe the desperation of my parents and specifically my mom to kind of figure out what was going on and taking me to counselors and therapists and doctors and getting incorrect diagnosis at 14 years old and being put on SSRIs at a very young age, and that being horrible for me. Um, that's something that kind of kept me away from medication the rest of my life because that experience was pretty traumatic.
So you were 14 when you got put on the SSRIs?
Yeah, they put me on Zoloft at 14.
Zoloft at 14. What year was that?
uh, that would have been '02.
Oh, man. Yeah, so you were born. What year were you born?
I was born in '88. Uh,
Okay.
you know, a
Millennial.
lot of it,
True
a lot of
millennial.
interesting things, I guess. Born cesarean section. Switched off of breast milk to soy. Didn't handle the soy. Switched to corn syrup and
You didn't
stuck
handle
on that for.
soy,
Not,
your natural soy breast
yeah,
milk?
no, not a soy boy.
Hmm.
And lots of antibiotics throughout my life. So I think that's contributed a lot to the depression as well as my gut issues.
Yeah. Yeah. So 14 years old. So that would have been when you were going into high school, like the first year of high school?
Yeah, so I was actually homeschooled from fifth grade up until the end of 10th, and then I went to private school
Yeah.
in 11th and 12th. But yeah, high school.
I feel like it's a major transition time. I remember feeling like shit during that year too. Like eighth grade to ninth grade, it was such a major change, and I kind of maybe blamed a lot of it just on changing schools and going from middle school to high school and the social dynamic there. But it's interesting that you had like a kind of a depressive episode in the same year when you were homeschooled.
I actually think I benefited a bit from the homeschooling education aside, societal interaction aside, just from being able to sleep. That's something that I seemed to need a lot of at that age was sleeping 14, 16 hours a day.
Wow.
So in that regard, homeschooling was good. That was not such a great thing when I did go back to a private school environment. Missed a lot of school.
Yeah. And so you don't remember there was no like specific thing that happened that made you just say, I'm freaking depressed. I'm over it, or was it a gradual shift into kind of a
I
darker phase, or how did that go?
Yeah, I don't know, because like you're kind of at that age inclined to believe people that should know better than you, right? So I kind of got caught up in the nutritional dogma that lower fat's better. You got to eat your vegetables, got to eat your fruit, and so I would believe these doctors and people that I respected and follow that advice. And so I think along the same lines, you kind of get told that, oh, depression's kind of normal. It's just how you are. It's just the way you are, and you got to take these drugs to deal with it.
It's chemical
So
imbalance, right? So it
yeah,
could be
chemical
genetic.
imbalance. Yeah.
Crazy, crazy. So you had a Zoloft deficiency, and you got it diagnosed at 14, and you got on the Zoloft. What did that feel like?
um, I think the best way to describe that experience was somebody else was driving the car. I was kind of stuck as a hostage in the back seat.
Wow.
So I think the clinical term is depersonalization.
Hmm.
I don't know if it's true psychosis. I'm bipolar type 2, so I'm not prone to psychosis. I get hypomania, not true mania.
Hmm.
And
You want to describe to the audience kind of what hypomania, what the clinical framework for describing that is?
yeah, I think Amber O'Hearn explains that better. So like hypo meaning less than, but for me personally, the experience is usually this feeling of invulnerability. You get maybe hyper focused, but hyper focused on the wrong things. Maybe cleaning up when you should be doing something else or organizing things. You get really motivated. You start to make a lot of plans. You want to see friends. You want to do things. You want to be out. You want to be active. And at first, it starts off very positive. If I stay there too long, it kind of becomes like this negative feeling where I'm just too wired. It's like when you take too much caffeine, I am ready to go, ready to fight, ready to, bite someone's head off. It's very, very irritable. So
Hmm. And then what's the other side of it?
the other side of it is depression, and that tends to be where I'm drawn to, and they can be these deep valleys where you're stuck there for months. Sometimes it can just be a couple days. It's not too deep, but sometimes it's months and months and months and months of just depression.
And that's how it hit you at first when you were 14. Kind of went into that depression majorly.
Yeah, I think I think it kind of started with suicidal ideation.
Mm.
Actually, a lot of maybe need for attention and threatening suicide and
Were you
threatening
serious? Were you serious
self
about
harm.
it, or was it
I don't know.
external?
I don't know. I know later in life it definitely was serious. At that age, I don't know. I don't know if that was just me being a dumb kid or if that was me just trying to get help in the only way I knew how. Um, yeah. I don't know.
What were you doing? What were you doing with your time at that age? When you kind of
So yeah, so I
internet
went
porn
from
and video games,
no,
like me and my
at that
friends.
age, probably not then, but I think what started to happen is I started to either lose friends because the depressive valleys were too much for them. I would disappear for periods of time and they couldn't handle that, or I would have to cut out friends because I would realize they were a negative influence on my mental health.
Mhm.
So I ended up pretty isolated, playing a lot of video games, sometimes online video games. So yeah, a lot of escapism to kind of cope with that hormonal flux.
Yeah, that also probably affected sleep a little bit too, right? Playing video games and staying up all
Well, yeah,
night.
sure, sure. There's also periods of insomnia, right? It's not just all sleep. It kind of, I guess, like checks and balances itself in that sense. But there was no rhythm or no evenness to it whatsoever. Definitely periods where I'd be awake for 48, 72 hours, unable to sleep, and then periods where I would need to sleep all day,
Yeah.
sleep all night. Yeah.
It's kind of like reflective of, the other symptoms, right? The hypomania, and then the opposite side being the depression, right? The
Right.
loads
Yeah.
of energy, loads of drive, inability to focus it though, as opposed to like no energy and just feeling like you're in, a fog or a haze.
Yeah. I definitely think the hypomania, it can almost be alluring sometimes. You like that high. It's I think why people probably like caffeine, but you kind of you get used to it, and then when things start diving back down and crashing, you're like, what the heck? I was doing everything right, I was trying so hard.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So 14 years old on the Zoloft, and how long did you stay on it?
um, I think I was supposed to be on it for life. I think about a month and a half in, I realized that this was not good for me, and I was feeling like absolute trash. So I just started throwing the pills away until the bottle was gone, and then I told my parents I didn't want it anymore. So
Yeah. And your parents brought you to the doctor, or did you tell them, hey, I'd like to see a doctor?
yeah, no, they took me to the doctor, and like clearly something was off with me. I wasn't acting like normal kids my age would
Yeah.
act. Like there's the difference of going through puberty and then constantly being depressed or isolated and threatening suicide. So
Yeah. Yeah. So they brought you to the doctor. You got on the Zoloft, and
yeah, doctor
it,
gave me a survey. Oh, you're depressed. Okay, let's give you this. Yeah,
was it your general practitioner, or was this a
he was. He
psychiatrist?
was. He was a general practitioner, but I had seen
Okay.
counselors and psychiatrists. Yeah,
Yeah, it's crazy. It seems like that's like the standard of care for kids these days. They go to the GP,
yeah,
and the general practitioner is just, Zoloft. Here's some Xanax, maybe if you have some anxiety issues, and
yeah.
shit. I mean, did you have any other friends that were on antidepressants or anti-anxiety medications at the time?
At that time, I think it felt like more of an unheard of thing. Like I didn't know anybody that was going through what I was going through. Now it seems like it's everywhere, right?
Isn't that crazy? Yeah.
It's like
When I was 14, I didn't know anybody who was on antidepressants. It wasn't so big. But now, I mean, college kids nowadays, the majority of college kids are getting prescribed some sort of psychiatric meds. It's pretty crazy.
yep, yep.
Yeah. So
I feel like most people struggling with their health, they have some form of depression, right?
absolutely.
And
Yeah.
the question is that just a chemical imbalance? Amber hates that word, but it's clear there's something else inflammatory is going on.
Right. Well, yeah, we know the gut-brain axis, the vagus nerve connecting directly to the brain. So there's definitely a connection between inflammation in the gut, inflammation in the brain, depression. Excuse me. So 14 years old, started throwing the meds away, and then how did the symptoms change after that? I mean, after coming off of Zoloft, did you notice anything different?
Yeah, so I there was this kind of pattern that kind of like metamorphosized in my life, and it was that I would during the good phases I would be very focused on trying to lose weight. I kind of had maybe some orthorexia or body dysmorphia. I was an obese kid, and so I would be hyper focused on trying to do things the healthy way or as I was told, and run a lot, exercise a lot, and I would feel good, but then I would crash and burn. And I never really put the two together, but there would be this rebound effect where I would actually get fatter after really making these focused attempts at trying to improve my life. And I almost wonder if some of that was a protective mechanism where my brain just wasn't getting the right nutrients and my body's way of coping was getting fatter to ensure that I was protected. I can't hear you.
So you started getting fat.
Yeah, started getting real fat.
Yeah.
And it was just a cycle. I mean, it happened every year, 14, 15, 16. And every year I would be fatter, heavier.
What were you trying to do to get unfatted? What did you try to do to not?
I would cut out the fat. I barely ate beef most of my life, which is funny looking back. But I would eat like lean chicken, or I would cut out all animal foods altogether. I would eat the healthy peanut butter and jelly on whole wheat, and I would eat my vegetables and my sweet potatoes and my oats. I would even not have my oats with sugar, just be straight water. I would try to cut out as much processed sugar as I could and just eat whole food, plant based. Went vegetarian for a while, and I would run. I would run a lot.
Yeah, so eat less, move more, the standard prescription, right?
Lots of eat less, move more my whole life. Yep.
Yeah, well, that's crazy. Yeah, so you pretty much went the normal route, right? Antidepressants for the mental issues, eat less, move more for the physical issues, and how did it
Yeah.
work out?
It didn't. It didn't. Just like I said, I got fatter and fatter and fatter and fatter, and had no idea why.
Yeah,
I just figured that this was a genetic disposition, and was kind of beginning to resign myself to that fact.
your parents weren't fat. Your parents,
My father is quite obese.
okay,
Yeah.
okay. So you thought you were just doomed. You're gonna be like dad.
Yeah. Exactly.
Wow, wow. All right, so 14 now. I know you'd sent me the outline, but I don't have it. And if I scroll down, and
That's
we're in
no. That's
Discord,
okay.
we had a little
That's
outline
okay.
of some topics to hit on because Josh was just kind of outlining it, I guess maybe for your own for your own for
Yeah.
ease
My
of
own mental sanity.
yeah, no, it's hard to there's so many things we could zoom in on and zoom out on. So 14 years old, started getting fat,
I I,
got on the
I think I
antidepressants.
think Yeah, I think the next area is kind of like moving into college, and at that point, I've crossed the 200 pound line, which I had crossed, by the way, when I was 12. I crossed 200 pounds, and then through puberty, I was kind of able to bounce between 200 and 185 for a bit. But I crossed that 200 pound line in my late teens, and I never see the ones again until much 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 later. And so go to college straight out of high school, and I can't focus. I can't concentrate on anything, and just start having some major depressive episodes. And it's kind of weird. As I get fatter, the depression, the valleys, they kind of get less, and I kind of drifting towards more of like an apathetic sad state, kind of more like even keeled.
Interesting. So it's kind of like a numbing effect almost, like putting on the weight.
Yeah. I mean, there's still the phases there where like overactive, annoying, and talkative, and but the depressive episodes, I don't think they get as bad. They're there, but they're not as bad in my early 20s, and I think that's partly because I'm well over 225 at this point. So, um, I the running gets more, and I really emphasize running in my early 20s, and it's really not until that off comment by a coworker about paleo that I actually start to lose the weight and things kind of start to change.
Okay, so shifted more into a paleo style diet. Somebody asked, we got a super chat from Philip Meese for $5. Thank you for the donation, my friend. He says, what was the effect of carbohydrates on mental health symptoms?
Oh gosh, um, I don't think it was as pronounced before paleo, but when I first went paleo, it was accidentally low carb, and no, the tiredness and the depression would definitely come after any kind of like carbohydrate induction on paleo. So clearly not good. And I mean, this is where we can go next if you want. As I further go into paleo, how bad the cravings kind of start to get to almost want to be fatter again, and my body kind of craving sweet things and carbohydrates, and using that as a vehicle to drive the depression.
Yeah, it's so interesting how the body seems to get fat as a protective mechanism. I mean, a lot of people they go into major depressions after like, they'll have a marriage fall apart, or a relationship will fall apart. They'll have something major happen to, trigger a depressive episode, and they'll get fat after that. But it's almost like there is a physical aspect to the putting on the weight that helps us to just, deal with something, just insulate us from the feeling.
Sure, I think circumstantial depression is a very common thing for many people. I don't think that was my case. I don't think I had any reason to be feeling the way I was feeling as a kid. I don't think I wanted for much as a child.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right, so we had another no, we had another super chat. Humberto Verdugo for $2. Thanks for the donation, man. He says, "Thank you for making this a little earlier than GOT. So I'm pretty sure we get more viewers than Game of Thrones, but
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think anyone's gonna watch Game of Thrones tonight. They're watching this. Yeah, thanks for the donation. Then Hollywood Fred sends $1. He just sent $1. Thanks a lot, Hollywood Fred. Um, he's he doesn't care about Game of Thrones. So all right, man. So yeah, so college came around, and paleo diet, kind of a lower carb
Yeah.
approach.
I dropped out of college. I moved to Florida. Actually, dropped out of college, did some things, realized that I should go back to college, went back to college, graduated, and then I moved to Florida. And I honestly think uh, paleo in Florida with the low carb that was helping me a lot. I think the sun in Florida compared to the Northeast, that was helping a lot. But what I was kind of unaware of at the time is the damage I was doing to my gut. I went from eating processed foods and some vegetables here and there when I was trying to get healthy to like full on 2-3 pounds of kale, lots of raw spinach, baby
Uh,
spinach, and
those healthy
just
greens.
lots of healthy greens. And what kept happening was I just kind of was unaware of what was going on, but it actually gave me the worst depression of my life. As my gut kind of started getting worse and worse, these depressive episodes they got so bad that I was kind of like locked away, isolated, kind of what I call eating and retreating. Don't want any human interaction. So I had moved back home. I moved back home, and I wasn't coping well with being back in the Northeast, and there was a lot of circumstantial and environmental stress going on there that was contributing to the depression. But yeah, I think that was probably the worst point of my life was during that.
So paleo was worse than even worse than the plant based phase, even
Yeah,
worse than
so
the
no. I wouldn't attribute that necessarily to going to low carb. I would attribute that to eating all these vegetables,
yeah,
eating all these things that I thought should be good for me, and yet they were wreaking havoc on my gut and
yeah.
causing these major depressive episodes.
Because back then the standard of knowledge in the paleo world was the vegetables are great. You need some meat. You need some meat, but you want a variety of colorful vegetables. You got to get all the colors on the plate, and get in all those micronutrients.
Yeah, I wasn't eating fatty meat at this point. I still hadn't gotten to that epiphany, and you know, the depression was pretty bad. This is around 2014 to 2016,
Mhm.
and it was lasting much longer than usual. I had some severe panic attacks, and I think it was so bad that there was actually a lot of external pressure on my mom to actually commit me.
Yeah. So what were the panic attacks like?
Um, kind of just like massive anxiety, but like in a situation where you just need to flee. Like your heart won't calm down. Your heart's racing, fluttering.
Yeah.
Um, just very overwhelmed. Like, and they're trivial things. Like looking back now in hindsight, it's like that situation wasn't a big deal, but at that time it felt life ending.
Wow.
It felt unbearable.
So what kind of things would trigger it? What kind of events would spark that?
Yeah. So I was in a bad relationship, and it ended poorly as well. And I actually coped surprisingly well with it. I think this kind of goes with the numbness that I was experiencing at that time.
Hmm.
But a few months after that, I had moved back home, and there were, like I said, some environmental factors kind of being influences on my mental state. Just some family members not really helping with the issues, and I had moved back home to go back to school,
Hmm.
and I wasn't doing well. Um, the school subject wasn't hard. It was just the ability to get myself there and to cope with that, and to cope with family, and to cope with now having the time to think about that relationship, and it just all kind of collapsed from there.
So it's 2014, 2016.
Yeah, this is 2014. This happened in February 2014.
Yeah.
And this put me out for probably about a year.
So school was on hold. Weren't really getting any work done. Basically just coping.
Just coping. Just sleeping a lot. I mean, my mom tells me, like, oftentimes she would just walk into my room because she hadn't seen me in a couple days, and the image of me being dead was a very real thing in her mind. She just thought I was gonna kill myself.
Yeah.
And she's not wrong. The suicidal ideation, it was very real during this time.
I've got some of your photos I can pull up here. Let me see if I can oops. I'm gonna pull this to the front. Now you'll be able to see some photos. So this is from high school,
This
right?
is in high school. Yeah. This is in high school, and I'm probably about like 215 here, maybe 205.
Now, when you're running the marathons, when did you start running these marathons, man?
Yeah, so this is in 2010. I had actually gotten up to 250 already, and by running a lot and being healthy, I had gotten down to about 230. So I'm still like 30%, maybe 35% body fat, and running a lot. And so this is later in that year, Thanksgiving, and I've already regained all that weight and more. I'm like maybe like 240, 250.
So kind of just yo-yo dieting all around.
Always. I would lose like 10, 20 pounds, and I'd gain back 30, 40.
Yeah. What about this picture?
2011, pretty emo picture, kind of back to 250, and then the last, I don't know, that's 2003. Yeah,
okay, it's way old.
Me.
Yeah.
That's vampire me. I don't think I've ever looked that pale in my life, like, since. So like this is when this depression really first starts setting in, around then.
They look totally different in this one, man. You definitely can see the depression in the eyes and stuff. You look bummed. Here you just I like this picture the most. This is my favorite Josh picture, high school Josh.
Yeah, that's with my classic rock band back then. Yeah.
There you go. And then this is you now.
That's that's happy me. So
this is when Josh got on a carnivore diet. It really reversed the aging process.
I'm about 5 or 6 in that photo.
Yeah, that's a cute picture, man. You look like a cool kid.
Was a cute kid.
Yeah. Awesome. So 2016, playing around with the paleo. Wasn't really working. Things are getting worse.
You got the heavy picture there?
Which one is that?
260, 265.
No.
Almost.
Wait. No.
There it is.
There it is. Yeah. That's the heaviest.
Zoom in on that one.
All right. Yeah. Which year is this? 2016.
This is summer 2012.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's close to my heaviest. I peaked at 270.
Okay. So 2012 here, peaked at 270, and
then about a year later is when I found paleo and dropped to about 183, 85, around there.
Oh wow! So 185. It's a lot of weight loss, man. Almost 80 pounds.
Yeah.
Or almost 90 pounds.
Yeah, I had gotten down to 170 on PSMF, but those are pictures I'm gonna show in about 2 weeks, and people can say it probably wasn't healthy weight loss.
So you're doing protein-sparing modified fast, PSMF. That's basically just lots of lean meat, very low fat, very low carbohydrate, essentially like a starvation diet, right?
Yeah, starvation diet. I mean, this is something that was pushed a lot by certain keto groups and Lyle McDonald. And
yeah.
Well, I guess Lyle McDonald says in his RFL that he's not advocating for it. But if you want to lose weight the fastest way, here's how you do it. Here's my book. And
yeah.
And so I followed that. And what was interesting is, I mean, I was starving. I was hungry, but I would use caffeine to suppress that. And I've never been a coffee drinker. And I think that's probably a good thing, considering the effects that coffee has on somebody with a mood disorder. And during that time, I was taking about 600 milligrams of caffeine, 200 milligrams 3 times a day. And I was just permanently in a state of hypomania for months. For like almost 7 months, I was rearing to go. I think that's probably the only reason I was able to endure such a shitty diet.
Yeah,
was
all that caffeine,
this hypomania. Yeah.
Crazy. All right, so you felt a little bit better, but it wasn't sustainable. It wasn't really it wasn't really a balanced approach, I guess. All that lean protein, basically starving yourself. How did that end?
Oh, it didn't end well. Like I lost 30 pounds, and I totally destroyed my gut. And just bringing that back to depression. What happened was I had to, during this time of PSMF, I was actually still seeing a therapist, and this is when I got my official diagnosis
Hmm.
of bipolar. So in 2016, although I had suspected that that's what it was from 2013, but 2016, seeing a lot of doctors because I'm not feeling well. My guts just not acting right, not responding correctly to foods, and it got so bad that I kept getting impacted in my gut.
It's like
So,
really bad constipation.
no, I don't know if you would say really bad constipation. I mean, like food just wasn't going through.
Mm.
Like it was, and I was so emaciated that you could visibly see it on my gut. And so my mom was so worried. I mean, obviously during these times that she was the one really dragging me to doctors, dragging me to gastroenterologists, dragging me to therapists,
Yeah.
and she drags me to this GI doctor, and the GI doctor's like, "Oh, you have to clear the impaction first before I can do anything for you, and you need to stop. You need to stop trying to treat yourself with food and take medicine already, and maybe you need surgery." So she told me to take some laxative that had some like I don't even remember like some sort of like um, synthetic polyphenol thing. I don't remember the exact compound. And she gave this to me, and that didn't end well. That put me into full blown gut flare, and it was so bad that my skin just started flaking off after taking this thing, and
Wow.
my asthma came back, and it put me in bed for 2 months.
Yeah. Two
And
months in bed. Wow. And this is, I mean, at the time you were working out a lot, or was it running? What were you doing that was,
yeah, so I I was walking like maybe 4 miles a day. Like some days I go for like a 10 mile walk, like it was nothing. 4 miles an hour walking. Then I call up my friend. We go play 2 hours of tennis.
yeah.
I go resistance train for like an hour.
Uh,
Weighted calisthenics. I was pulling like a 260 chin up with
yeah.
my body weight.
Yeah. So
And
you just got so much energy. You had, it's like your body was starving, freaking out, all the caffeine. And
yeah,
it's interesting. It's like there's this pattern of, pushing really hard and then falling back a little bit, pushing really. It's like you're
yeah,
always trying to find that
yeah,
balance. So many people that deal with depression, bipolar, I think a lot of people, they accept this diagnosis as something that's eternal, right? It's like, oh, I am bipolar, like that is me, right? But it's funny because it's such a natural human cycle, right? I'm not saying like everybody takes it to such extremes, but it is really a natural human cycle to push the limits a little bit and then back off. And when we do, I think when you look at a lot of creative people, right? Like a lot of people who are highly creative, highly empathic, they deal with similar situations as you did. Maybe not as intense with the suicidal ideations and stuff, but the so-called hypomanic episodes of really high productivity, really intense energy, and then just crashing afterwards. It's a vicious cycle if we don't find that balance. But it sounds like you felt a lot better for that period of time in a certain way, but
in
in
a way.
another way you were just trashing your body at the same time.
Yeah, no, the rebound was a 60-pound gain over those 2 months. It was actually less, and I had only lost about 30 pounds. I went from about 202 to 170.
Yeah.
I only touched down on 170, I think, 3 times. So my average was more like 175.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, the rebound was all the way back up to 230,
Oh man.
and it was in about 45 days. It wasn't the full 2 months,
Wow.
but I just remember feeling like such dog shit during that time because it was like even during those 2 months, I would try to hop back on this PSMF. I would try to adhere to keto, and it's like every calorie that went in my mouth was body fat gain. My body had downregulated my metabolism so much that my core temperature was below 96 degrees.
And these people say, "Oh, well, metabolic damage, it doesn't exist. You can never trash your metabolism." But it seems like that's a great example of somebody who, I mean, these fitness competitors do the same thing, right? These women who are basically going through a hypomanic episode as they're trying to get ready for these competitions, destroy their bodies, destroy their gut, destroy their health for a period of time, do PSMF, wreck their hormones, then they bounce back and they gain a shit ton of weight. It's funny. It's just something that, like, so as somebody who coaches coaches a lot of people for fat loss. This is something that's so common, especially in fitness competitors. The same cycle that you're talking about. Intense exercise, intense dieting, crash and burn afterwards. We've got some super chats here we can read off, and some of these are really cool. Let's see. We've got Seeking Truth in Christ for $2. Thank you for the donation, man. Says God tells us to eat animal foods for a reason, and I'm guessing he said that's when you were maybe talking about your vegetarian phase when you weren't feeling so hot there.
Right.
Good comment there, my friend. Hollywood Fred, again. Hollywood Fred, thanks for the donation. Keeping this chat afloat today. Says, after 10 months on Carnivore, lost 38 pounds, and depression is gone after 10 years of treating it. I wish...
That's freaking awesome.
How cool is that? I wish I would have known about Carnivore 20 years ago. I highly recommend the Keto Collective. Okay, cool. So Fred has been a member of our Keto and Carnivore Collective, which we do every month. Actually, thank you, Fred, for the reminder. We're starting our next Keto and Carnivore Collective this Sunday. So the group coaching thing is starting this Sunday. It is our group community coaching. We do it, it's kind of formatted almost like a course, and it doesn't matter what stage of the journey you're at. If you're just starting out a ketogenic or carnivorous diet, or if you've been doing it for a little bit and you're trying to troubleshoot. Most of the people we have come to us have already started keto and they're trying to troubleshoot, and I'd say like 40% are brand new, never done anything like a carnivorous diet or a carnivore keto diet before. Our group coaching is starting this Sunday. I've been kind of decreasing the amount of private consultations that I do, and we've been doing our group community coaching, which is actually, it's a much funner way of doing it because you have support from us, you have your coaches, Jessica and myself, and we share a lot of resources with you. We do 2 live interactive voice chats per week, and you guys have each other to bounce ideas off of, to support each other, and it's all in a nice, safe community setting where you get to share and bounce ideas and reflect with each other. So Hollywood Fred, it's been nice having you, my friend. Thanks a lot for sharing. RC Tyler 24 says, for $10, thanks for the donation, man. Tristan, thank you so much for what you're doing. I'm now eating mostly carnivore, and I noticed, little typos there, and I noticed my depression lift almost overnight. Meat is brain food, and on top of that, my digestion is amazing. So, yeah, I mean, you've probably heard a lot of things like this, right? You run
Absolutely.
You run a Discord server, right? You got a Carnivore Discord.
I do. Yep, I do.
What, you want to go ahead and shout that one out? How can people find your Discord?
Yeah, let me, I think I have a link that I can give people.
Yeah, you can throw it up in the chat there.
Yeah. So I wanted to go back to something you said. Is that all the super chats?
There's one more super chat from Chris Kempf, $5. Thanks a lot, man. He says, it's crazy how similar your journey is to my own experience ruining my gut and health. Thank you so much for taking the time to share, Josh. There we go. Got a bunch of appreciative viewers there.
That's great.
Awesome.
Yeah. I think something you said about resignation and empathy, I'm kind of happy for my journey. I think it's given me some perspective and maybe some empathy towards sick people I wouldn't have otherwise. But I do think that's something that you notice with like severely depressed people. Like a lot of them tend to be comedians, right? They want to make people happy because they themselves can't. And I do kind of still resign to bipolar. I don't know if the damage has been done. I think for other people it's great if you can fix it and avoid it now. I get worried because bipolar has that sneaky way of making you think everything's better before it hits you, you know. But I do seem to be trending.
So you worry about relapsing still?
I do. Every day. I have to question my emotion. Is this just a hypomanic period? Am I gonna be depressed tomorrow? You know.
How can you tell if something's a hypomanic period? What are the How do you know? I mean, how do you know this is
I
not
don't know.
just the new
I don't know.
normal?
This feels what I think normal should be like.
Because before
You
you
know,
ever felt depression, you said you were very outgoing, you were very
I'm very
enjoyable.
happy. Yeah.
Yeah. Every time I talk
Um.
to you, I mean, we chatted with each other in text, and you always seem, pretty upbeat to me.
So let me speak to that. I think what's sad is I've never had a chance to really to publicly speak about this. It's a hard subject. You like what really inspired me to talk about this was the Nourish Balance episode that Amber had, and she was kind of talking about some of these fears, like what if my employer sees this? What if my friends or family see this and then they cast judgment, right? So what tends to happen is people have this perception of you only during the times that you're around, only during the times that you're happy. The people um, that see you when you're depressed are usually are usually the ones closest to you. It's not your extended family. It's not your you know um, acquaintances or some of your friends. You kind of push them away during that time, and
Yeah, you don't want to be
so it's
seen.
hard. Yeah, people tend to get a false perception of you. I'm sure talking about this now might shock some people, and I think for other people that they've probably suspected or probably at least thought something was wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, let me ask the chat. How's our audio? We did a nice audio check in the beginning. I just want to make sure that our levels are not that it doesn't get too tinny or anything. Everything sounds good on my end, but I don't hear what you guys hear. So give us an audio check. Tell us if we're not turned up too loud. So yeah, I mean, I think this is something that anybody who's gone through, major depression or bipolar worries about. Some people in the chat are saying that they've, had the same concerns. Like they just, it's RC Tyler says, I totally know what he's saying. I almost feel too good. It's like
I, I
suspicious.
think I think you kind of hear Michaela say it, right? Like
Mm.
you're not necessarily orthorexic on carnivore, but you're so afraid of like getting that cross contamination from a restaurant. You're so afraid of having a little bit of spice on your food, and like, what if this triggers that episode? Like, you
Because it's
want to stick with
horrific. It's
what's.
horrific to be in that
Yeah, no, it
space,
is.
right?
It's debilitating. It's absolutely debilitating, and I'm sure a lot of people wrongly attribute that to laziness or apathy or sadness, and like these are things you don't want to conflate with depression. Depression is a sickness. It is some sort of inflammation going on in your body that is just it's just messing you up.
All right. So let's talk about how you found Carnivore.
Yes.
How did this come about, man? How did the next stage happen? 2014 to 2016, messing around
Yep.
with the paleo, pounding the kale, pounding the spinach, feeling worse than ever in many ways. What changed?
We get to that 60-pound rebound, and I had already been investigating zero carb. I'm pretty sure it was my friend who had mentioned it in a keto science subreddit, and I kind of just followed the link. And we weren't friends at the time, and she'd probably prefer to remain nameless. But I followed the link and I started reading. I'm like, I can't cut out all vegetables. This is freaking crazy. Like,
Yeah.
who the hell would do that? Like,
Yeah, this is
vegetables are the
extreme. This is way too extreme.
yeah,
Yeah.
way too extreme. And so I'm hanging out from like December 2016, and I'm just getting sicker and sicker. And I'm even like, I need to try this, and I just can't bring myself to do it because I'm just not in that mental state. And sure enough, I get fat enough, and I get that hypomanic burst again. And I'm like, okay, let's make use of this. I'm cutting out all plants, and so I do. And as I had mentioned to Mike in my interview, my asthma had been so bad, like so worst depression of my life. And that weight regain, I've never gained weight so quickly. Um, so yeah, I dive into carnivore, and I'm still kind of doing it the stupid way, right? I'm cutting calories. I'm eating chicken.
Ah, you're
And
PSMFing again, right back in the Lyle
a
McDonald
little bit,
stuff,
right?
right?
A little bit, but without the
Mm,
vegetables this time.
yeah.
Without the vegetables, without the caffeine, and I don't do that very long because it's very clear that I feel like crap. So I start eating beef, and every time I have beef, gosh, I need to eat more beef. And so it becomes like a day of beef, and then I feel guilty because I have severe body dysmorphia. I have severe orthorexia at this point, and the next day is a day of chicken, and then a day of beef, and then a day of chicken, and then all of a sudden it's like 2 days of beef and a day of chicken, and before I know it, it's just beef. And it was really Sean Baker's N=1 that inspired me to like kind of go no bars, like full on into eating to my heart's desire, and that's really when the depression starts to lift, and I start to feel better, and I had no idea, right? I had no idea that this was gonna affect my my mood, and then I hear a talk by Amber O'Hearn in Keto Fest 2017, and she started talking about her bipolar being gone. And I'm like, huh, that's interesting. And that thought doesn't last with me very long, because then I get my first symptoms of candida die-off and full-blown depression again. But it lifts very quickly. It lifts in like a couple of days.
What is the candida die-off? How did you know this was candida die-off? Right, because
So
some
I
people
did,
might interpret when they get, they start doing a diet
sure.
like this, they get some gut issues. They might think,
They
oh,
have
this
die-off,
is the diet. This diet sucks. This is making me...
I don't want to get too graphic because I know some people are squeamish. I thought I had SIBO. Let's just say that I visually confirmed candida die-off in the bathroom, and leave it there. It's pretty gross.
Yeah, pictures you want to share?
No pictures. I mean, you can Google it. It was 36 hours, going to the bathroom every 2 hours, sometimes less, and yeah, it's pretty obvious at that point.
Yeah, so you passed a bunch of crap, passed a bunch of junk, and
didn't pass any crap, and passed a bunch of yeast.
Yeah.
So,
and you felt like crap during that. You felt symptoms.
I did, and what was interesting is during the N=many, I was taking daily blood pressure, right, and I was taking daily temperatures as part of the study, and what would start to happen, because these flare-ups would come every couple of weeks, and then they would start to get further and further out, like a month out. What would happen is, like 2 days before, my temperature would start to go up, and my which, by the way, had resolved on Carnivore. My temperature would start to go up, and my blood pressure would start to go up, and then I would get these massive headaches and a fever, and then this would happen, and it got less and less and less, but every time it would be about 4 or 5 days of depression, a little bit before, a little bit after, sometimes a little bit longer, and this is when I would start to cut out exercise, because it was clear to me that exercise was not a positive at this time. But then I get a little stupid and a little hypomanic, I think, and I start pushing the limits again, and then I actually do have a major depressive episode on Carnivore during my first year, and this is in late January of 2018. Yeah, 2018. I think that's right. Yeah.
How many months into Carnivore was this?
This would be, gosh, I think this is 8 months in, and it might have been like 8.5 months. That sounds right. And I get a major depressive episode, and I'm just thinking, okay, this is my life, and I don't really gain too much weight. I mean, some people have seen the picture on my Twitter or on Mike's interview, where I actually did blow it up to about a 38.25 inch, and I got back up to about 216 pounds.
How many inches was that you added on the waist during that time?
I added about 4 inches
to my
waist.
It's a lot, yeah.
It's a lot, and the crazy thing is my appetite was non-existent, and before this I was eating lots. Like when I was butchering and working out, I was powerlifting and doing calisthenics. And I think this is partly because of the protein. I was eating like 5.5 pounds a week for like those 2 months.
It's not much food at all.
Sorry, 5.5 pounds a day.
Okay.
Okay. For 8 weeks. For 8 weeks. So yeah, so like 17 kilograms a week.
Yeah, that's a lot of food. So you were butchering, so you had a good source of meat. You had your own meat.
The meat was pretty expensive, so I wasn't sourcing all of it from there. It was
you didn't get a good discount.
Side.
Yeah, you didn't get a discount
I
there.
got I did get a stipend. I did get a fair discount, but it was Upper West Side artisanal shop
Yeah.
and very expensive. So,
Okay.
but I was extremely active and I felt good, and so I figured, oh hey, carnivore is resolving all my issues, so let's push the limit. And my body just wasn't ready, so I crashed.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what brought me to accidentally finding Mike Davis, and so grateful to him, and finding the higher fat by accident and not realizing it was that until pretty recently. And mood just kind of lifts,
Yeah.
and
So
it's been
you started adding fat to the diet. What was it in specific about Mike Davis's message? What was it that he said that made you decide, okay, I've got to add some fat to this. Maybe my carnivore diet should actually be kind of a ketogenic carnivorous diet, based around all animal
it
foods.
wasn't even that his and I don't agree with this argument.
Hmm.
His argument was palatability, and it was intriguing at the time. And I was like, okay, I'm going to give this a fair shot. And he was talking about Blake Donaldson's book, Strong Medicine,
Okay.
and I'm pretty much a stickler or a purist. So when somebody puts something forth, I'm going to give it a fair trial. I'm going to do it their way, right?
Yeah.
Like this is what I do with PKD. And so I followed it. It was supposed to be like 80-20 ground beef. The closest I could get was 78-22, so
Yeah.
a little fattier. And so I just started eating these burgers, and I found my appetite completely arrested. And so I'm like, oh, I'm digesting all this better, probably because it's cooked ground beef. I was eating a lot of raw and a lot of blue, so I wrongly attributed this to fully cooked ground beef.
Hmm.
Completely dismissed the idea that, oh, I had gone from eating like 65-35, 60-40 in percentage of calories to a little over 70%.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So
and
more
that
fat made it just digest better. You had more energy. You felt better in general.
yeah. And so mood really stabilized, and weight started coming down, and so that indicates to me that my mood is highly tied into my inflammation as well as my weight. Whether that's something else going on, or if that has something to do with insulin glucagon, if that has something to do with my body needing more fat to repair things that have been damaged or haven't gotten enough.
Hmm.
I mean, there's great talks by Georgia Ede when it comes to fat and mental health, and as well as some of the stuff Paul puts out. And I want to give a shout out to Paul and thank him so much. He was
Paul
kind
Saladino, right?
enough. Yeah, Paul
There you go.
Saladino was kind enough to call me and have a nice conversation with me and give me some great advice and practices to help prepare me for talking about this. And I mean, yeah, I mean the whole community is so great. There are so many people that have been supportive throughout my journey that I've been able to talk with about this. This has been hard for me, and I've been very fearful of sharing it publicly. But I think it was time, and I feel ready.
Yeah, shout out to Paul Saladino. You guys make sure to check out Paul's YouTube channel. He puts out some great content. Paul's a friend of the show here. He's been on a couple times. Great guy, real genuine dude. Just wants to help people, and I think that's what's cool. That's what's special about this community. There's some people who don't really want to play the community game. There's some people who would rather kind of build their own thing and kind of poo-poo the other folks. But Paul Saladino, solid guy. People like Sean Baker, Michaela, um, Georgia Ede. You mentioned Amber O'Hearn. Just some of the most genuine, kind people who really want to help folks are out there putting out this information. And it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool to get to know some of these people and to be connected with guys like you, Josh. And yeah, so shout out to Paul for helping Josh out there.
So yeah, I think there's definitely something going on, and I don't know what it is. But the interesting thing is, I stayed stable for a year, and well, it's not quite a year. So this experiment really started in June 11th. So we're not quite there, and despite playing around with the ratios a little bit when I moved to California with my girlfriend, um, you know, it didn't the depression didn't come back, and so I just I don't know if it's completely tied into the insulin or if my body is just at a better state here, that these animal fats have repaired parts of my brain, repaired parts of my metabolism, and I have better coping mechanisms now. But some people that follow me on Twitter would know that I recently started experimenting around with ICMNI's protocol, PKD. Um, I'm now kind of doing my own thing, kind of sort of calling it Keto AF. It's Amber's coining, Keto Animal Foods. And as soon as I upped the fat, it was almost like mood stability went to the next level. Like I went from being a little bit numb, a little bit, I guess, complacent
Yeah.
to blissful. Like I don't even know how to describe it. Like if I guess the same parallel I would make is something I said to my friend when my asthma went away. I was like, "Is this what it's like for normal people to breathe?" So in that same sense, is it what it's like for normal people to feel like
What
every
do you mean
day? Like
normal
I
people? Like,
feel
what about you isn't normal? I mean, how many people are, how many people are depressed? How many people feel lost? How many people feel,
sure, sure,
complete lack of meaning in their life? I mean,
sure,
this is the culture, it's the
sure.
spirit of the age, man. It's like,
I
that's,
don't I don't reference societal norms. I know a lot of people will do that. I don't think it's normal to eat a standard American diet. I think it's
yeah.
normal to eat a carnivorous diet. So when I use the word normal, I'm speaking to biological norms. Like, is this what it's like to actually be a human being,
And to be like a functioning human being that's,
a
functioning
functioning
at,
human? Yeah,
yeah.
what we're meant to be. Is this? Is
Because the
this
new normal is very dysfunctional. That's the thing. It's like the new normal
right?
family is completely fractured. The dad's a deadbeat. The mother's, working 4 jobs. The new normal is so abnormal. And yeah, it's a good way of putting it. A functioning human being. Does it scare you still? You mentioned earlier that
Yeah,
you were
it
concerned.
still does. I still worry. I'm fortunate to have a very loving mom and a reassuring girlfriend, and I mean, they're both very patient with me, and I think what's interesting is for a long part of my life, I would have to cut out people that were just a negative influence, people that were toxic and abusive,
Huh.
whether that be family, whether that be friends. These were people that needed to not be in my life. I don't think blood. I don't think any length of time um, gives you the right to treat me a certain way. But getting rid of these people, and now they've been replaced with supportive and loving people, and it's just I can't ask for more than that. I think that's the most reassuring thing, that even if there are setbacks along the way, I'm really going to be lifted up by good people.
It's interesting. It's kind of part of the process, huh? Not only do
Yeah,
we get to clean out our own habits and formulate new habits, but sometimes we have habits of surrounding ourselves with toxic people that keep us in that box. Like we think it's
yeah,
normal to feel depressed, and we think it's normal to be treated like shit, normal to be, it's even subtly abused, and once we realize, no, that's not healthy.
yeah. I unfortunately think that for some people, when they're sick, it makes them a lot easier to be manipulated, and it attracts a certain type
Yeah,
of person into your life. And
yeah. It's like
when
the
you
the
start to,
parasites latch onto the weak organism, right? Like the
yeah,
gut parasites, they find
a little
that
bit.
they're opportunistic organisms, human parasites, aren't they?
Yeah, I think when you start improving your life and you start making changes, it really seems to upset them,
Mm.
and it kind of like my doctors. Maybe that's just a good parallel into how the whole medical system is. Right, everything is, oh, we don't want you treating with diet. You need to be on drugs. And for me, it was never that way. Like, drugs make me feel like crap. Vegetables
Mm.
make me feel like crap. Fruit makes me feel like crap. I'm not going to follow your advice. I just know that that's not ideal for me
But
because
what
it
if you're
makes me
nutrient deficient, right? Like, what about, friends and families probably asking, I'll play devil's advocate here, right? Um, okay, you feel better, your depression's gone, you've been a whole year without a depressive episode, which is, I mean, how long has it been since you've done that? Gone a whole year without having,
it's not even just that, but like, I mean, gosh, maybe since I was 14. I don't think I've ever been this clear since then, and I've never been this thin since I was 11.
Mhm.
I was fatter and heavier when I was 11, and
220 at 12,
just
right? That's crazy, man.
uh, I was over 200 at
Okay.
12. I was over 185 at 11. My waist was about 35 inches at 11 and 36 at 12. Um, I mean, obviously a lot shorter, but
Mm.
I like I know there's like a seasonality and a cycle to my depression, and obviously winters make things a lot worse. There's less light. I've tried a lot of the light therapy. I don't think there's a replacement for the sun.
No way.
I do want to
No.
try. I do want to try your infrared. That stuff looks really cool to me. I've not had a chance to try that, but I've
Well, if
tried
you have
other
a
light
big enough
therapy.
device, you can definitely. What kind of light therapy have you done?
Um, Gosh, what was the name of it? My mom, obviously wanted to try everything for me.
That's so sweet.
It was yeah, she's the best. It was like one of those little like portable blue lights, I think.
Oh yeah. Nah,
Yeah, yeah.
man.
No, it didn't do anything.
That
It didn't
stuff's
do
for the
anything. I tried.
birds. That's the yeah. No,
I,
you
I
gotta
tried.
have.
I tried. I know. I
Yeah, those
tried.
are
I can't
that's
remember the
one
name
of
of
the
the
ones we
brand. I don't
use.
even think I brought it with me to California. Like that's how different things are, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, no, well,
And
red light's a little bit different. Red and near infrared are pretty cool, but there's nothing that's going to replace the sun. And like natural
no,
sunshine, natural sunlight is one of the best antidepressants there is. I mean that and
absolutely.
I guess steaks are pretty nice too.
I
But yeah,
think I think I think exercise is good too, right? Like I think there's something to being hedonistic. You hear Amber and Mike Davis talk about this a lot. I don't really subscribe to the idea that people need to pushing themselves to failure and pushing themselves to puke. I go out and I exercise in the sun and I do some fun stuff, or if I don't feel like it, I don't. Like to me
yeah,
that's the signal that my body's like, oh, we don't feel like lifting today, so don't
yeah.
do it.
Oh, it's so important, man. And for for dopamine production,
Yep,
for
yep,
just moving the body's crucial. You got to
yep.
move. You got to get outside. So I mean, it's a full lifestyle approach. I'm glad you mentioned that because a lot of people, they start to change their diet and they don't realize, well, I'm also sleeping like shit. I'm also watching
Yeah.
Netflix until 3 o'clock in the morning, or I'm playing video games until 4 a.m. And it's these types of practices can really affect us negatively as well. I had one day this week where I jumped on somebody's stream and I was up pretty late. Ended up being up till like I think I slept like 3 or 4 hours that night. And it was so fascinating because normally if I had done that previous lifetime, I would have had major digestive disturbance. But it was really cool because it was just I felt a little bit of like grumble in my belly, and my digestion didn't get thrown off that much, but I could tell the difference, right? I could tell the difference from the poor sleep, how it affected nutrient absorption and it affected digestion. And it was just subtle. It wasn't anything gnarly. It wasn't like I was, having a major, episode of terrible digestion. It was noticeable from one
No,
night.
it's interesting that you mentioned that too, because I don't eat very late, and I had one day where I had to eat later to have the right fasting window for my blood draws that I got in mid-April, and it wasn't as good a night of sleep. But
Yeah.
I mean, there's another thought I have there. Which input are you messing up? Like maybe you fix something in your diet that fixes your sleep, that fixes your depression, that kind of gives you like this beneficial circle rather than a vicious circle. And I think if you're doing most things right in your lifestyle, it's okay if you throw something off, like you throw off your sleep one night, right?
Yeah.
Your body's going to recalibrate a lot quicker. But if you're doing everything wrong, there's just no recovery. You just make
Yeah.
everything worse.
All right. So it's habits, right? I mean, it's you got
Yep.
to make the habits, create the habits, and then your habits kind of create your body, right? It's like the habits we have, they actually create the form that our body takes, and luckily we can reformat our habits. So we consciously make our habits, and our habits make us. So if it's just all unconscious, if it's just all on autopilot, and we never even observe it, and whether those habits are dietary or personal habits like in everyday life, what we accept as normal in our relationships, these are all things that affect us on many levels. So that's why when we do
Absolutely.
coaching, like it's a multifaceted approach. I mean, somebody comes to me for coaching, it's not just okay, well, what are you eating? Okay, let's modify this, let's modify this, no, we look at sleep cycles, we look at what they're doing in the morning,
Absolutely.
what are you doing in the evening. There's a lot more going on than just hey, let's look at your macros, or you're not getting enough micronutrients. I mean, there's a lot of inputs other than that. And I'm glad you mentioned it. Nice shirt, by the
Yeah.
way. What is that shirt?
Oh yeah, this is sure it's awesome, right? It's one of my favorites. It's got a little bit of competition now from the Carnivore bar shirt.
Oh,
also
you got a
says eat
carnivore
meat.
bar shirt? That's cool.
I do. Yeah, it's on Instagram. So
We got some
also
just
shirt
eat
from
meat shirts coming out for the people who aren't ready for
awesome.
families. We got eat meat shirts coming out. Are those ready, Jessica?
I'm working on it right now.
You should. Oh, nice. Like actually, right now.
Yeah,
I
actually.
see email pulled up right
I'm
now.
looking for the lady who I'm
That's awesome.
working
But yeah, I love this. I
Just
wear
kidding.
this. I wear this all over California. You know, gotta upset the hippies.
They don't like that. They're like, wait, meat and families? Are you kidding
Me
me?
and families. What are
They're
you
like,
trying
but
to do to the environment
yeah,
here?
right. But global warming, all those families are destroying the environment. Um, yeah, man. Oh, this is really cool. So, a whole year free of it, but still a little bit concerned. I think that's the most fascinating aspect for me is, when we deal with these ups and downs, and you're always expecting it to come back, and then people even like, Michaela, physical symptoms, right? Arthritis, really bad arthritic symptoms. So freaked out that something she does might bring back the symptoms. And it's cool. Every time I talk to her, she seems a little bit more, I know she's always very confident, but she seems a little bit more confident in her ability to kind of handle things and to get right back on track. And she gets every once in a while she'll get sick or she'll get some contamination in some food that'll affect her negatively, but she jumps right back into life. And she's found certain ways that she can go about, helping her body out. I know she's been doing red light therapy. She does saunas. She does the far infrared saunas as well. So. Yeah, it's like we find these ways that we can manage our lifestyle, manage and form our habits, and if we've got most of it in line, we don't have to worry so much about falling down in this abyss of health issues, whether that be depression, anxiety, arthritic symptoms, digestive issues, IBS type stuff,
Yep.
and a lot of people are using a carnivorous approach, and
Yep.
so has anybody else in your family or your immediate circles caught on to what you're doing?
My best friend has made a lot of dietary interventions in his life that have seemed to help.
Yeah.
My mom tries, but she's kind of in a situation where she's tempted a little bit too much to kind of you know fall down. So, but my friends are aware. I think most of my extended family doesn't cast a whole lot of judgment because they know how obese I was and I look healthier. So it just logically doesn't make sense that I'm killing myself.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are onlookers that think that, and my answer to them would be even if I were going to die 10, 20 years sooner, the life I'm going to have is going to be so much better. You have no idea. The life between 14 years and 29 years, that wasn't a life worth living.
Hmm.
This is something worth living.
Yeah. So the new normal. You
The new normal.
gotta recalibrate,
Yeah.
huh? You gotta recalibrate this new
It's
normal.
weird. The last 2 months have been, I guess it's not quite two. I guess it's about 7 weeks, but they've been a blissful 7 weeks. They've been great, and been 13 months without an episode. I mean, it's bizarre. So,
Nice.
but yeah, the fear is there, and that was a piece of advice that Paul Saladino gave me. That fear is a natural response, for survival, and it's okay. Like focus on the worst outcome. Like that's okay. It's still not that bad, even if it is.
Well, yeah. I mean,
Like
it's like a
even
it's a roadblock for you. It's like you don't wanna.
yeah, yeah.
It keeps you humble. It keeps you in check.
Sorry, my screen just went black.
I was thinking maybe like I hit my mic or something and it turned off.
No. I think my monitor timed out. So
Yeah, no, I think it's important, man. That fear keeps us. It keeps us from going off track. It keeps us from.
I mean, it's there for a reason, right? Anxiety and fear, like those are natural emotions.
Yeah, yeah.
And the
You should be
advice he gave
freaked
me
out by a
that
snake, right?
no, right,
You
right,
see
right,
a
right.
snake in
It's
front of
not
you.
healthy.
You just run up to it. Oh, give me a hug! I'm so blissful.
So yeah, I think his advice was very helpful, and things that I can focus on and think about and in perspective realize even if there is a setback coming, so what? Like I know we're moving the right way. Things are getting
It's
better.
never going to be just a straight road
It,
to the end,
it
right? It's like
it's
there's going to be
that's okay.
difficulties.
This is a journey. That's life, right? Something bad could happen tomorrow. That's life.
Yeah, but maybe it'll be maybe
Everybody has a hurdle.
what happens from now on. It'll kind of manifest in a different way.
I think so.
Maybe it won't
I
be
think
like it
so.
was before.
I think even from just really upping the fat, my ability to cope with really terrible situations is much better.
Yeah.
It's a calmness, and I don't think I had that on carnivore. Even at the 70-30, something by me getting more fat, my zen, if you want to call it zen, is just it's perfect. Like I'm calm. My sleep is great.
Yeah.
Um,
More energy, better
it's
sleep, calm.
I don't know what this is like. I can't even remember a time that life was like this.
Yeah.
So
There you go. Got
yeah,
that the keto. Amber, she calls it keto AF.
keto.
I've just been saying keto carnivore or carnivorous ketogenic diet.
Yeah, keto carnivore.
Keto autofocus. I like that though. It works.
I like the fun little the keto AF. It usually gets people to think something else. So
Right, right. Yeah, I think I told Amber this. The only issue is people already made shirts that say keto AF. They are like
yeah,
they
that's
make
okay.
those for everything, right? Vegan AF. They make them for everything.
Somebody said we should make a keto AF AF.
That's it. That's how you get it. That's meta. That's meta. That's
But yeah,
awesome.
we have a keto AF subreddit. People can check that out too.
Oh, cool.
And we have a channel on our Discord. If people want to join the Discord, they can hop in there and say hello.
Awesome.
And yeah.
Josh Blackburn, we got one more super chat over here. Says Philip Meese, thanks for the donation, man. Philip Meese, second donation, keeping the chat going, keeping the stream afloat. We really appreciate it, man. Says makes it harder to deal with social anxiety if going out with friends means you won't have access to meat you know is safe. Yeah, maybe we could talk about that for a little bit. Just kind of your
Cool.
strategies for eating out. Do you focus on grass-fed versus grain-fed much? This is when a lot of people get so triggered about this. And
Yeah.
yeah, so let's first eating out, social
Eating out.
stuff. How does this affect all that?
Eating out. McDonald's.
McDonald's
No
burgers.
salt. No salt. No seasoning. A la carte. Quarter pounder. I'm actually going to Fogo in 2 weeks to celebrate with some other LA carnivore friends, another couple that we met through Doug Wright. So that's going to be cool. We're going to Fogo de Chao. So no, I'm not too worried about eating out. I think cross contamination was a much bigger issue when I started.
Okay.
I think it's become much less of an issue. I worry more about things like eggs. I'm trying to think conventional pork, because those are things that seem to impact me right away. When it's beef or lamb, I seem to have much greater tolerance to what I can get away with, even if maybe not ideally cooked.
When you say conventional pork, what do you mean? Like, are there's pork that you can handle, and then conventional pork you don't?
Like conventional porks that's not been pastured. Most of that, I'm guessing it has something to do with their fatty profile being mostly linoleic acid. So, shout out to Tucker on that one. But I just get headaches when I eat it, which is weird because pork rinds don't do that to me. But like bacon, maybe it's the nitrates, maybe it's the sugar. I don't know. Maybe it's what they're curing it in. That makes me feel like crap. So I'm not really ready to.
But
to
with the
test,
ruminants, it doesn't matter grass-fed versus
no,
grain-fed.
not at all. To me, I think if you are in a financial position to buy grass-fed and you can find a local sustainable farmer, I think that is the best way to go.
Yeah.
If you can't, fix your health first. That's the most important thing. Go get some grain-fed beef. Go to Costco. It's budget friendly.
That's what I say. If all you can afford is the Walmart meat, I'd rather have you eat that than some quinoa or something.
Yeah, no, quinoa is probably not the ideal way to go. Even if you think that's healthier, I don't even think that's budget friendly.
True. I don't know. Maybe it's kind of cheap in some places. Definitely not cheap.
I can't even imagine that's environmentally friendly.
No, it's actually terrible. Quinoa. I mean, I don't know, the growing conditions of quinoa aren't that bad. It's not as destructive as wheat or corn. But what happens is the Bolivians, the Peruvians, the Ecuadorians who export the stuff, they can't even afford it because they can't even eat it in their areas where it's it's where it's native to.
Where it's native, that's crazy.
Yeah, because all the vegans want the health food, hippies.
I think that's a valid point that Garland Farms brought up to me, and I know you'll be having them on Thursday. Is that we need to be voting with our dollars now. So like if you can afford grass-fed beef or even some beef that's been fed grains, but it's a local farmer, it's not one of these feedlots or like factory farmers, like go support them, man. Like show them that's where the money is, right? Like
Yeah,
Don't let these
cut out the
farms run.
middleman. That's the thing. Cut out the middleman. Go to the ranchers. Go directly to the ranchers. You know what I mean? If you can. But if you got to go to the middleman at Costco, if you got to go to the middleman at I don't know. I mean, wherever it is, then
You're really setting me up for a middleman website here, aren't you?
yeah. Are you trying to build a middleman, the meat middleman?
No. I'm saying somebody else's. Cut out the middleman.
Yeah, that's what's cool about when I talked to was it A2, what was his name? Sorry, S2 Ranch, was that their name? Shoot,
Yeah, yeah.
S2 Ranch.
Bart Simmons, right?
Bart Simmons, yeah, Bart and Andrew Simmons. Like you can go
It's
to
two
their
S, 2S Ranch.
2S. Okay, I'm so sorry, Bart. Theprovisionhouse.com, you can get it directly from them. And if you're in Texas, if you're near where they are in Texas, you can go to their shop and you can buy it directly from them. So I think, supporting local farmers, supporting just local organic agriculture when you can, even if it's not for beef, but just supporting local communities, it's crucial. And it's also really, I mean, you mentioned, environmentally sustainable or whatever, but it's also good just for your internal environment, actually forging real relationships with people in the
Yep,
real world,
absolutely.
right? It's like internet friendships are cool and stuff, but like really meeting these people, really actually, engaging with your local communities is great. And if you go to a farmer's market, you'll find that there are people who bring their own grass-fed beef to the farmers markets and sell it there. So check out your local farmers market. And I think I'm going to talk to Crowd Cow. What's the guy's from Crowd Cow's name again?
Joe.
Joe. What day is that?
Mon-
No, it can't be Monday. That's tomorrow. Tuesday.
Tuesday.
So Tuesday, we're going to be talking to Joe from Crowd Cow. And Crowd Cow actually helps you to source beef from your local community and do group buys where you can buy it from local ranchers. You can buy a whole cow, divide it up between a bunch of people, hence the name Crowd Cow, and get a good price on all sorts of cuts. And you get good, sustainable, grass-fed local beef there. So, but hey, if you got a Walmart nearby and that's all you can afford, and it's that or McDonald's bullshit, go for the Walmart meat. Like you're going to feel better on the Walmart meat than you are on, I don't know, your stupid ass green smoothies.
Yeah, I think between, at least when it comes to ruminants, you're really getting down to the very small details. At that point, it's small improvements. I think most people are gonna. You need to make the big improvements in your life first.
NC Rid's always throwing the donations. Thanks a lot, buddy. Says, how do I go from being a fed to a rancher? A little play on words there. NC Rid, he works for the federal government. He wants to go from being a fed to a rancher. He could be a grass fed rancher.
That's awesome.
Good question there. I wish I knew an answer, man. I wish we could all go from feds to ranchers. Let's see. I think that's the most recent super chats. I don't see any more right now. So, yeah, the other question was we were talking about grass-fed versus grain-fed, but what about organs? I mean, you mentioned you went through a period where you're eating some liver and then you backed off. And, yeah, what's going on with the organs? How do you feel about that stuff?
Yeah,
Nose to
so
tail.
I mean, I had never tried liver, but I found a retinol and iodine deficiency, so I went out and got some liver, and I loved it. So I also went through about it maybe like 8 months where I didn't eat any. So even when I did Wobo, which was the higher fat initially, I did like 4 months, 5 months there where I wasn't eating any liver.
What's Wobo?
That was the week of burgers only. That was the Blake Donaldson thing that Mike Davis had coined that I did.
Week
It
of
was just the
burgers
ground
only.
beef.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. You know what I like? I like to do ground. You grind up a little bit of liver with the ground beef. Some butchers will do that for you.
Oh, that sounds cool. Yeah.
Yeah, like
a liver
10%,
wurst?
10% liver in burgers.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah,
Adds a little bit of flavor.
I like my liver frozen. I know that probably doesn't appeal to a lot of people. I get calf liver from Walmart and I eat it frozen. I do it every day. I just like liver. If I could eat as much liver as I could, I'd probably be back to eating 2 pounds a day. But when I do that, I get fat. So
Well, there's a little bit carbohydrate content in liver.
yeah, I think it has to do with the glycogen that's in the liver. Plus, it's really lean, so it just drives up my hunger, and then I want cheese and stuff like all these fat cravings that I would associate with dairy. I now realize they're a fat craving. So it would just cause me to really be hungry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's something about the animal fats though. Like there's something about it. And
Oh, absolutely. It's so satiating.
what about butter? You do butter right now?
No, I don't do any dairy right now. I like dairy. I was drinking raw kefir, anywhere from 1 to 3 liters a day.
Uh-huh.
That's that I tolerate the best. I don't tolerate the others so well. Most dairy doesn't pass through my GI very well, whereas raw kefir, oddly enough, seems to be a benefit in
You
that
tried raw
sense.
milk, like raw whole milk, which I drank
I
some today.
have raw milk is hit or miss. If I'm drinking raw kefir, raw milk is fine. If I'm
Yeah.
drinking raw milk on its own, it's not fine. I get very gassy and bloated.
Oh,
Uh,
interesting.
what what Garland Farms suggested to me is that I need to find somebody that has colostrum. He thinks because I was taken off breast milk too soon.
Mm.
That's probably why I have most of my gut issues. I need to talk to him more about that, but that
Yeah,
might be something
colostrum's
that I'm willing to
great.
try.
You can get
Yeah.
colostrum. You can get raw colostrum there. There's what is it called? What's that company?
It-
Raw
Organic
colostrum.
pastures.
Yep, Organic Pastures. They sell raw
I
colostrum.
don't think they sell it anymore. I
Oh, they
haven't
used
seen it
to.
anywhere.
10 years ago, they
Yeah,
used to, man.
somebody messaged me on Instagram after talking on Garland's
Yeah.
stream and said organic used to sell it in California, but it's been a couple of years since they have. But
Oh, yeah.
I need to find like there's so many dairy farmers out here.
In
I need to find
2008,
somebody.
2009, 2010, they used to sell it, but that's a long time ago. That stuff, it was
I'm
really good
I'm
colostrum.
fresh.
It was really good.
I'm fresh, Cali.
They
So
have to come to Ecuador. They have to come to Ecuador for some raw
I
colostrum.
know, I know.
I'm
I
trying
need
to get
it
some
right
too,
out of
man.
the.
My source for raw milk, they're gonna have some raw colostrum for me really soon. I think in the next couple of weeks I should get some. So I'm excited about that.
Cool, cool.
I'll
Yeah.
airmail you
What does it
some.
taste? What does it taste like? Somebody asked me, and I had no
Extra
idea.
extra creamy milk with like a little hint of it's just like a deep dark milk.
So something between like raw milk and raw cream.
Yeah.
Okay, I'd love that. I
It's
mean,
like yellow. It's like yellow orangish in color.
yeah, I've seen pictures of it.
It's really cool.
The raw milk out here is pretty yellow.
There's something else too.
The
It's like if you took egg yolks and mix it in with milk. That's
huh.
almost what it tastes like.
So that sounds like almost like ice cream, just without maybe
It's
too much
amazing.
sugar.
It's amazing. Well, it's like one of
Yeah.
the sweetest foods I have regularly would be raw milk, and the colostrum. It's just there's this extra something. It's really amazing. But you can get dried colostrum, which can be pretty good too.
Yeah, I kind of want to stick with like a whole animal product if I'm going to do anything. I'm hesitant to like start up too many experiments right now. I feel like I'm trending in the right way, and I'm not ready
Yeah.
to change path just yet. But soon
Yeah.
I'll be ready to start messing around with some stuff.
Colostrum's really cool. I'm really into the
Yeah.
colostrum. So yeah, I wonder if you emailed Organic Pastures if they could do a special order for you or something.
Huh.
I don't know.
That's a thought.
Hit them
Yeah.
up on Instagram, maybe. I know they're on Instagram. I see them every once in a while there.
Cool.
Organic
Cool. I will
Pastures. So
do
if
that.
you're in California, you're lucky. You can still get raw milk. It's kind of expensive there, but you can get
It
good
is.
raw milk.
I think their raw cream is like $1 an ounce, and their raw milk is like $16 a gallon.
You know
their
what? That's
kefir.
not that bad for California.
No, I don't think it is.
I'd drink
It's
it.
kind of like
I'd
yeah.
drink. I'd pay $16 for a gallon of milk. I'd drink a gallon of that a day if I was living in California. It's good stuff, man.
when I was drinking the kefir, that was like $8 a quart. So like going through like 3 liters of that adds up pretty quick.
Yeah. We got another super chat. Joseph Gramberg. He's got a question. He must have thought I was talking to Dave Feldman. He says, "Hello, gentlemen. I just recently got my blood work done, and my total cholesterol was 386. My HDL was 68, LDL 308, but inflammation was low. So, Joseph, definitely look into Dave Feldman's work. Inflammation being low is great. HDL 68, LDL 308. There are hyper responders within ketogenic carnivorous diets who get a big boost in that LDL cholesterol when they go on a low carb diet. So it's not always necessarily something to be concerned about. Look into the work of Dave Feldman. Look at some of my interviews. If you just do a quick search for Dave Feldman on my YouTube channel, you'll find some information on cholesterol from Dave from cholesterolcode.com. HDL to triglyceride ratio, very important, long story short. So, yeah.
I'll have my cholesterol results back tomorrow too, so
There you go.
kind of interested to see that. Yeah.
If it's high, you're going to go back to a vegetarian diet.
Oh, absolutely. Vegan next day.
There you go. You have to
Full
you have to
vegan.
burn the shirt.
Be calling you a carnist.
Murderer.
Yeah, no, I'm not too worried about cholesterol. I'm much more interested to see some of the labs that I got done, like glucagon and insulin and stuff like that. So,
You got glucagon.
oh my gosh, I have everything.
How'd you get
I have everything.
glucagon? Who does
Oh,
glucagon testing?
I'm I'm very fortunate. I had a very nice opportunity to check my blood work, and it'll be interesting. There's gonna be a nice write up on it too. So
Sweet. That's
yeah.
awesome. All right, man. Well, I don't see any more questions. I don't see any more super chats here to read. Josh, you got anything you wanted to hit on that we didn't talk about?
No, I think we covered everything that I wanted to cover, and once again, I just want to say thanks to you and Jess so much. You know, you guys are doing great work, and I really appreciate you guys having me on and let me talk about this for the first time.
Well,
So
thanks, man. Yeah, we
yeah,
appreciate what you do, and really appreciate everything that you've shared with us. And we went deep, man. I really I know you're doing so much better. It's going to be interesting to see how the next year goes. And I know you said you always worry if you're going to slide back into the old cycles. But stay in touch. Let me know how everything goes. And it's cool to see you recalibrating to the new normal. You know.
yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Tristan.
All right, all right. So everybody watching, thanks for hanging out. We're gonna wrap this one up. We mentioned the next Keto and Carnivore Collective starting this Sunday, right? This Sunday. This Sunday starting, so it's the last week to sign up. 1 week from today, and today is this Sunday. 1 week from today, next Sunday, the next Keto and Carnivore Collective starts. It's our group coaching. Still do private consultations, but definitely been moving more towards the group coaching format because we're able to handle more clients, handle all the clients we have, save some time, and give you guys more content, give you guys more one-on-one time, and give you guys a lot more attention, and you get the group community aspect to it. So Josh Blackburn, where can they find you? What are you on the
They can
Twitter
find
and all
me
that?
on Twitter. Twitter is probably where I'm most accessible. It's just at logical links. Um, I have Instagram. That's logical_links, and then the Discord as well, which I dropped in the chat. I'll drop it again.
Yeah, and
Check me
well,
out
if
there.
they just go on Discord and they search your Discord, how do they find it? What do they search for?
No, they just put in the link. They just put in the link, and they should
Well,
be
if
right on that
somebody's
Discord.
listening later on just audio, because we'll publish this as a podcast as well. So if they listen to audio, how will they
Oh,
find it?
I don't even know. I don't even know how you would search it. But if you just go to the subreddit Keto AF, there's a join Discord link. If you go to the subreddit Zero Carb, there's a join Discord link. You can find us there.
All right, there you go. So the subreddit, that sounds awesome. You guys check out also, a little plug for Jessica's book, The Carnivore Cookbook. Let's see if I got a copy here. There it is, the Carnivore Cookbook. Oh, Josh got a copy. Thanks for supporting, Josh. Look at that, two
Gotta make
copies.
that high liver, man. Gotta make that high liver.
Yeah, you'll
I'm
like
trying
it.
that. 2 weeks from now, I'm gonna get one going.
There you go, 2 weeks from now, so you can get it on the timeline. So yeah, check out the Carnivore Cookbook. Links in the description down below. Zero carb recipes for people who really love animals. And it's all animal foods, 100% animal foods, no plants harmed in the making of that book. It is an ethical carnivore book. So yeah, it's been an honor hanging out. See you guys next time.
Thank you so much.
All right. Yeah, Josh, thanks for getting in touch, man. Appreciate it.